that way too. So nothing's really happening. But if we go ahead and clone this, duplicate, and let's call it level 2. Make sure my coding is right. Yep. And while we're at it, let's rename that. Let's call this level 1 door. You know. One nice thing about alright, anything that you create in here, unless you lay quotes around it, it's going to change if you change it here. If you lay quotes around it, then you're specifically identifying something. Like me calling these layers by their actual quoted names is probably eventually not going to be what you want to do. But it's definitely a good place to start, just to get your functionality done. And then, because it's better to, I like to start off using all the newbie tricks and figure it out myself just to get it done. Oh, it works, boom. And as I go along and I learn more, I learn how to revise, I learn how to rewrite better code, that kind of thing. I don't know, it's worked that way in other areas too. It's kind of a do-it-yourself learning, trial and error crap, I guess. So anyway, cancel that out. Okay, so all that's good. Level 1 door, player collision with level 1 door. Since we renamed it, renamed it here, which is great, and it goes to the next layout. And just make sure collisions are enabled. Everything looks good to me. Let's test this out now. Whoa. Oh, can't get up there. Come for your daughter, Chuck. Whoops. Some Beetlejuice. And we can see it started us at the next level, or starts the next layout. And the interesting thing is our player was actually already there, so it already gave us our player. Now I'm going to show you something. Let's go ahead and open layer at level 2 because that's our next layout. I'm going to get rid of this, and shit's going to hit the fan. It's going to have nowhere to go, or we're not going to have a player spawn. Because again, this is the idea behind using create objects, or objects are always on screen. Spawn objects. There's different things that can function, or that you can use to control things. So nothing happens there. What we could have happen is we could have the player already in, and I'm just going to have to copy him back in here. You could always drag or copy and paste, either way. You could have him spawn up here, so he'll automatically just be up here, and then we're going to go and drag the door down here, super close to the death, and maybe a long jump. And we could write something later down the line to where you need some kind of running jump to do it. And so if we didn't have this here, what we'd want to do is, okay, if player, upon loading level 2 layout, spawn player in this exact coordinate, which you can kind of guess from down here. Like, oh, which coordinate? Basically right around there. 104 to 39, something like that. 104x 39y. Alright, so let's run this bad boy. Hails bells. Ooh, the wrong way. Oh! I'm terrible at this game. Deep. And we start up there. And let's see, I gotta go over here. Nice. And that is still the same sprite, so check this out. So it wasn't triggering because it didn't have the next layout. Level 1 door, level 2, level 1 door. So if you made this like right here, maybe it'd be too hard. Or you can do something like this to where it has like a little tiny pedestal to where, oh, you better be careful, you're gonna die. Or some kind of jump thing up here to where, oh, you try to jump, but it's not gonna work because you hit your head. But the proper way is you got to go through all this crap, however we would design it, and then you have to drop on this ledge and slowly fall. So basically, the path of patience rather than direct, whatever, the direct path. All right, so I got a couple basic levels down. Obviously, placeholder graphics. What else do we have? Variables. You know what? Let's make a score variable. We didn't do that. What's one of the points of playing the game? A score. High scores are always good. Beat your own high score. Some kind of story. That's my favorite. Score being probably the second one. This one, player score. And let's say when you collide with the door, that's when you get some score. So you can have it go to the next layout, and then also add to your player score. Let's just give it 100. So the other player score now. And let's get into some UI. Let's make some UI. I'll worry about enemies later. Environment, I'm kind of developing. I'm looking at kind of a checklist I have. Levels, main character, basically. Okay, let's get into some UI. Okay, make sure your UI layer is selected. I like to also clear out stuff that might be in my way. When you design your UI, you do it pretty much in the view. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make some text. And this is going to be player health. Now, there's always the debate whether or not you want to use text. I read some article, at least for Construct 2 maybe, it could be just centered around that using text or displaying text on a game, that kind of thing, is more intensive than actually a sprite, because the text is more fine. I don't know if that's all true. Sometimes I'm like, well, how big's the object got to be before it gets to be a pain in the ass? You know, is that, you know, what's the actual kind of performance gains and losses? Could be more drastic in grander scopes. Let's call this player health text. I really like to label things text, though, if it is text, because we'll go back and change it to a sprite most often. Okay, we got health at 100. Our background is black, so that's not going to work too well. We can make it white. Obviously, I'll do red. Health, we got health, boom, player health. Global, I want to say yes, because none of this stuff is going to have a UI. So let's go ahead and make this UI layer global. Okay, so that makes this basically makes this global anyway, so it doesn't matter. Well, this one actually controls whether or not it's destroyed at the end of the layout. So you could use this in lieu of creating objects all the time at the same point, if you will. But then a global may also mean that it could affect some of these other layers or layouts that you don't want them. Like, you don't need your health showing on the loading screen or the start menu. You could have it showing on the start menu if you build a lot of save functionality to where they're constantly saving and loading their game. Then you would, like, for instance, Final Fantasy games that I played, you save like multiple save files on your memory card, so you have 4 different ones. Well, it used to be kind of nifty to see where your HP was at, because your party might be dead or close to dying, and then the previous one's totally full health, so it's always good to see. Alright, where the hell was I at? Alright, here we go.